Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? We're going to fix this thing. Okay, that looks good. Whew. Second last lecture. We're already here. Let's see. Very sad Titanic theme for the last lecture. That'd be good. Does Jake teach 1531? I do, but not in term 3 this year. I'll teach it, I think, in term 1 next year. Okay, yeah, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the exam prep lecture. I'm sure you're all very excited for this. I bet the attendance is higher than usual. Oh, not really. Never mind. Maybe it'll grow or something like that. But yeah, welcome. Welcome to our second last lecture together. Yes, I'll see you next year. Awesome. 1531's an awesome course. I mean, all the courses are really good. Yeah, view it to triple digits. Yeah, good times. Good times. I remember that too. Someone is awfully late. Are you talking about me? Maybe. Okay. So what are we doing today? We're talking about the exam. We're talking about what to expect, how to tackle it, how to maybe study for it, all of this sort of stuff. And lots of times for questions. Noah, Tammy, everyone, we're all familiar with the exam and all that stuff. So hopefully this will take away some of the pressure surrounding the exam. Yeah, and we'll get started. Okay. The slides for this should already be available. Let me go through some of the content, AR11, and then we'll sort of have question time, if that sounds good. So, what's the format? How to prep? Any hints and tips? Maybe we'll turn off the lecture recording and give some real hints and tips. Wouldn't that be cool? All right. I don't think there's going to be any lecture code for this lecture. Yep, once again, I bet all 50 of you have done the My Experience. Yes, no, please do it. But we're giving you time in your courses this week in the labs. So, yep, please do it. Awesome, thank you. All right, so basically, what's on the exam? What's examinable? Basically, anything we've spoken about, anything you've done in the cheat labs, with some exceptions. So anything that I made clear that is not examinable is not examinable. So that would be, for example, the other language stuff is not examinable. When I went a bit nuts with that history linked list program, that extra stuff isn't examinable. But of course, linked lists are examinable. I don't have to say that. But yeah, if we cast our minds back, if statements, while loops, variables, ints, doubles, characters, and structs. Just turn the recording off, we'll do My Experience. That's naughty. Strings, arrays, pointers, linked lists, structs, and edums. That's pretty much it, really. And the combination of those things is where we sort of extend ourselves. And then, of course, just sort of algorithmic problem thinking and problem solving. So given a problem, how do we use these concepts to solve it? So the exam is on the 12th of August. You should all probably know this by now, from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. for most students. So if you have a 9 a.m., you might have a 9 a.m. exam time start for any various reasons. If you have a clashing exam or if you have some other reason that you need to do that. So you might sit it slightly earlier, but that's not many students. If you have an exam clash, let me know. We can schedule it the 9 a.m. time slot. So it's a 6-hour long exam. So what that means is the exam is open until 7 p.m. from 1 p.m. or from 9 till however many hours, for 6 hours. However, it's not a 6-hour exam. It's probably about a 3-hour exam. We're just giving you 6 hours to do it in. Excuse me, I need to sneeze. So, yeah, we're just giving you that extra time for you to use as you need to. For this week's, there's still a tutorial, Windows. You'll most likely take those 6 hours, and that's completely fine. So you've got those 6 hours. There's no penalty for it. All we do is take the final submission at 7 p.m. and that's what we'll use to mark. It doesn't matter if you finish it at 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 2 p.m. The lab this week will basically be a practice exam. That's all the lab really is. So you'll have the practice exam that we wrote for this term. We update the practice exam every term to make sure that it reflects the real exam. So we don't have any questions in there that you didn't cover that we didn't cover this term, like any concepts and anything like that. So, and this is really important to familiarize yourself with how to actually get started with the exam. And that's what we'll do as well in this lecture. Do we have to go on campus for the exam? Absolutely not. You can take it anywhere. Whoops. So how do you submit your exam? You use Give, just as you have done for your for your labs. There's no weekly tests. Ignore that. We run auto tests the same way, so you can test your answers. You can submit as many times as you want. Again, we'll only mark the final submission. And if there's anything we need to contact you with, we will likely use your UNSW email. However, we might actually use EdSTEM as well as an exam forum. So we'll let you know. We'll send you an email beforehand with what to expect for this. Okay. Did I just miss a slide? No. So, how does the hurdle work? The hurdle is pretty generous. There's sort of 2 hurdles. So, you must earn 50% or more in at least one array hurdle question. So, there's 2 dedicated array questions, question 1 and question 3. You must earn 50% in at least one of those questions. And there's a linked list hurdle question, question 2 or question 4. And again, you must earn a mark of 50% at least in one of these linked list questions. So that's the only hurdle component. It's not an in-person exam. You can take the exam anywhere. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. Easy. Watch me fail after saying that. That's not good. So as long as you pass those 2 hurdles, what happens is your exam mark gets added to your course mark so far, and then that final mark is your final mark. And if that final mark is a fail, then that would be a fail for the course. But you could have 100 in all the labs and assignments and fail. If you get a 0 on on all 4 of these questions, essentially, then you would fail the hurdle as well. That would be sad, but that's not going to happen. Okay, maybe don't take the exam at Bondi Beach with poor Wi-Fi or something like that. So it's an open book exam, and it's a take-home exam, so it's actually not specified here, but yeah. Well, it's not take-home, it's just at home. It's open book, so you have the internet, you have any of the work you've already done. However, this is where we really get into the important stuff. That doesn't mean you can work with other people. So don't communicate with anyone about the exam within 24 hours of the exam time. This is considered plagiarism. No external help. So don't ask questions online. We monitor for it. We monitor Discord. We monitor discussion groups. We monitor anything you can think of. We usually monitor it. And no discussion of the exam or sharing your code with anyone except for COMP1511 staff. And that includes after the exam as well. I mean, you can talk about how you went and what questions were tricky and stuff, but you don't want to be sharing your answers and things like that. And of course, we have many ways in which we check for plagiarism. Some automated, some manual. Yeah. Any questions on this? On what's allowed and what's not allowed? Yeah, the practice exam is this week. You can already access it, really. I'll show you how to access it as well. Any questions on this? Let me just move that out of the way a bit. No GitHub autopilot. How hard will it be compared to the real exam? It'll be pretty similar. It'll be very similar. We're not out to get you here. Okay. If you need to contact us during the exam, because we have a larger exam support team than we usually do for the course admins. So there is a cs1511.exam email address that you can use. But I also think we're going to... I'll send an email about this, but I think we can use EdSTEM as a exam forum. I apologize if you've already gone over this, but if someone gets a combined 50% for questions 1 and 3 and combined 50% for questions 2 and 4, is that enough to pass? No, you need to get it in the... You can't get 25-25, if that's what you're asking, for example. You need to get at least 50 in at least one of the questions. Cool? Sure. Okay, we'll send you a bunch of information, including a link to the exam website, which has all the details on the actual final exam, not the practice exam. We personalize all the... Don't worry, you're not going to get 49%. It's okay. We personalize all the papers, so your paper will only become available... That's the wrong date. Sorry about that. I missed that when I updated the slide. So yeah, 1 p.m. on the 12th of August. The command needed to fetch the exam is 1511 fetch exam, and we use 1511 fetch prac exam for the practice exam. So we'll run through this together in a moment as well. Okay, fit to sit policy. Who's familiar with the fit to sit policy? Fit to sit policy. Fit to sit policy. I'm just getting up the... Oops. The final exam, someone was just asking what's the weighting of it. If you go to the course outline, which is here, the final exam is worth 40%. Cool? Thank you for not making it a 9 a.m. exam. You're welcome. Okay, fit to sit. So if you... Let's go to the fit to sit page. Oops, that's the wrong one. Okay, So fit to sit is the policy that UNSW implements surrounding exams and special consideration. So um, it basically describes some of the structure and rules around when it's okay to rely on the special consideration process to not sit an exam. So basically the idea is if you start the exam, you're declaring that you're fit to sit. So if you have something pop up, right? So you have a medical issue, or you have your internet is not working properly. It could be anything that could disrupt your ability to do well in the exam. If you start the exam, it's an indication that you are fit to sit the exam. You've declared that you're okay to sit the exam. So you can't then turn around an hour in and say, oh, I've had no internet for the past week, and this exam is not going well, so I'm going to use this as an excuse to not complete the exam. Does that make sense? That doesn't mean that there aren't legitimate things that pop up during an exam. Those are still okay. What really matters, and this has happened to a student of mine in my course last term, if something does happen during the exam period, you need to apply for special consideration at the exam time. Don't wait 2 weeks and then submit a retroactive special consideration application. It's just, you need to let us know sooner. I mean, of course, if something crazy is happening and, I don't know, you're in a coma for 2 weeks, like, okay, you're not going to be able to submit it and you're not going to be penalized for all that. But if you've got COVID or something, and you don't let us know for a month, it's really tricky for us to do anything about it. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes? No? You're just talking about other stuff? Okay? Okay. Yep. Look, it hardly happens. This really doesn't come up for many people. I mean, basically, something happens, don't sit the exam, submit special consideration, and look after yourself. That's basically what this policy is saying. Don't push yourself to start the exam and then you're not able to complete it. Will there be a lecture today? What are we doing? Ouch. Okay. So, yeah. You can submit anytime before the exam. You can submit during the exam. But after the exam, you're not eligible for special considerations. Exceptions will be considered if it's clear that you were prevented from making an informed decision. That's really the core of it there. Okay, any questions on sit to fit? It's a bit of a UNSW specific policy, so. Matthew, we're not even close to hitting the threshold. We're at 30%. Sit to fit. Is that what I said? Anyway, read up on those details, but I'm sure you're all going to be completely fine. I believe in you. Okay, well, we have more details here. So let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. So if you feel unwell to the point where you shouldn't or can't continue with the exam, of course, please stop working on the exam. Let us know immediately if you can submit special considerations. But of course, I mean, what's missing from this is that, look after yourself. If you injure yourself, go to the hospital or something. I had a exam. This was an in-person exam years and years ago before online exams were a thing. And we used to keep the exam room doors open for 5 minutes after the exam started. And it got to, I think, like 7 minutes past. And this guy came sort of rushing in and he's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, you're a few minutes late. I'm really sorry. And he's like, And I look down, he's holding a motorcycle helmet that's all cracked. And I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I just had an accident. I think I'm okay. I'm like, dude, go to the hospital, please. Don't worry about this exam. So exams make us do weird things. So please, if you're in an emergency or you're not well, get better. Don't worry about special considerations, and 1511 will sort you out later. That sounded menacing. We'll sort you out nicely later. But yeah, he did not sit the exam, which is good. If you are granted special considerations, for example, under the Fit to Sit policy, and you don't sit the final exam, that date is wrong. We don't have the supplementary exam date yet. So, but there'll be a second opportunity to take an exam afterwards. Bubbling. Oh, okay. So preparations for the exam. In week 11, like I've been mentioning, we will run some revision classes. These are still being scheduled. We'll also be releasing some really tight revision videos. So similar to did anyone watch the linked list video? So it wasn't a lecture video. It was just a video that I uploaded with a fancy animated background. Did anyone watch that? So even smaller than that one. So we'll be releasing a couple of videos working through some of the trickier concepts in a video. The benefit of those is that they're really short and tight, and there's no lecture chat, and there's no breaks, and it's, I think that video took me 2 or 3 times to record properly the first time because the microphone wasn't turned on. But they're a bit more rehearsed, right? And so you get a tighter sort of package. So I think we're aiming to release a couple of those, and then of course we'll have some in-person and online revision classes. Most of you actually mentioned that you would prefer lecture style presentations, but we'll do a rough mix based on the percentage of people that thought they would prefer a lecture style versus a tutorial style revision. So all of that information will be released. There'll be some online ones, there'll be some videos, and there'll be some in-person ones, but no one will miss out. And that's really the last big sort of chance to get other than the help sessions and stuff, to get extra revision in. So we'll be releasing those details really soon. Okay, what's the format of the exam? So 20 short answer questions worth 1 mark each. So these could be conceptual questions, technical questions, interpreting code, interpreting diagrams, and there are examples, of course, in the week 10 practice exam that's already available that we'll go through soon. This is pretty straightforward. It could be multiple choice. It could be short answer. Basically, you won't be writing code for these questions. Or you could be writing like one function name or something like that. So they're all worth 1 mark each, coming up to 20% of the exam. Then there's 8 coding questions, basically. They're worth 10 marks each. Really simple. Again, similar questions to style that you've done in your weekly labs and the revision exercises. And these are also rated just like the tutorials are, to give you an idea of how difficult and how much time you should probably be spending on each question. So, 1. 2. 3. And skull dot questions, basically. We would hope and expect that you can attempt and complete the first 4 questions. After the first 4, so the 5th and 6th are trickier but reasonable. The 7th and 8th are pretty deadly, I think. So if you can't complete 7 and 8, that's normal. Those questions are really there to help us separate, HD students and D students, for example. But again, it's only 10 to 20 marks, which is then only 40% of your course mark. Whew. Lots of talking this lecture. The 4-dot questions are worth a combined 20%, not 20% each. Excuse me. Someone asked a question and how I've lost it. Will we have access to... The practice exam is the practice questions. Will we have auto tests for the practice questions? 100%. So the practice exam is basically a complete clone of the full exam environment, including auto tests, give, everything. How hard are they compared to the 3-dot lab questions? I've been told that some of our tutors can't even do some of them. I should probably attempt one myself. You can still... It doesn't mean you can't get a HD. You could get a perfect lab score, for example. Then it would only be 40% or 20%. So I think it's still possible. But it'd be harder, obviously. Will the exam questions be tested for style? I don't think so. Are we allowed to ask tutors questions during the exam, like in labs? You can ask questions to the team. So first of all, you can't ask questions to your individual tutor, for example. Don't message them, don't email them or message them on Teams or anything like that. We'll have some sort of mechanism or forum for you to ask us questions, of course. We might also need to tell you something, like this question's not clear or something like that. But yeah, so you're allowed to ask us questions, but of course we're not going to just give you the solution. I'll show you where to access the practice exam. Bruh, great. Oh, wow, rip. I got some marks for Q. Okay, yeah, that was Noah. Looking forward to it. Who made them? We all, so I wrote a few questions, you know, we sort of spread the load out. I think a lecturer tried. Okay, well, now this is I got to try question 8. I haven't looked at it this term. Maybe after the exam, I'll do it on a live stream or something. Okay. Noah says, wait. Who's waiting? And then he's deleted all his messages. So we'll be given auto test for the real exam. Yes, and the practice exam, Nicholas. But there will be, the marking tests will be hidden. So there'll be extra tests that you don't see. Are the auto tests extensive? Yeah, they're fairly extensive. Yep. But they're not 100% complete. So Q1 to 4, like 1 to 2 dots, 5 to 6. Yeah, that's exactly right. Windows. Okay. Sorry, there's lots of questions. Surely you can give us a sneak peek at the exam. Surely you could do your My Experience results. Then we would all be happy. I'm kidding. I actually will give you a sneak peek of something today. The test we use to mark. Okay, yep. Replace copy reveal with exam reveal. I see what you want. Exam featuring Jake's breakdown when he can't complete the exam question. Yep, pretty much. Got him. Reverse card. Ooh, cool. Yeah, cool. Okay. So let's go back to short answer stuff. What will this code do? How will this concept work? These are the sort of questions we'll have here. Actually, this morning I went to make a coffee and I didn't have enough coffee beans and I almost had a breakdown. So that's all accurate. When you fetch the exam, a text file called exams short answer will be downloaded. It's a special format. You must type your answers within triple curly braces. I know it's a bit strange, but you just need to do it. Only answers in the triple curly braces will be accepted. You can practice this with the practice exam. Some questions will have validation, so you might only be able to answer with the letter A, B, C, or D, for example. And it's the exact same structure as the practice one. Oh, okay. The practical exam. Oh my god. The coding questions. Again, similar to revision exercise. The stages of difficulty. We've mentioned all that. We'll provide some starter code often. Now, when we provide starter code, the code will self-document whether or not you should whether or not you should complete a certain function or area of code, and certain functions and things that you should leave alone. So commonly, you won't touch the main function, for example, but there'll be some function that you need to complete that'll be marked quite clearly. And again, we'll run through this all today. You should write the code, compile, test it, and run the auto tests, but they're just tests, they're not the full marking suite. So they'll just make sure you're on the right track in terms of the format of the data that you're passing around, but not the actual, marks. Harder questions will have less auto tests, and there is no specific style marking, so you don't need to explain your code in comments, for example. So don't worry too much about us picking your style apart. It's just the auto marking that's marked. So Matthew has asked, do we have access to the previous term final exams? You don't, but you have access to the previous term practice exams. Just by changing the term number in the URL on the course website, you can go back and just find the week 10 lab practice exams if you'd like. Are the short answer questions going to be like Kahoot? No, because you'll be writing stuff, whereas the Kahoot are just A, B, C, or D, basically. Why don't we get the auto marking? What do you mean? I meant, do we have to pass the exam? So for example, we have 2 hurdles we talked about. Do we also have to actually pass the whole? No. No, Windows. The answer is no. I see what you're asking now. Yeah, there's auto tests for all questions. Or maybe you don't have access to the past. So Tammy's just saying you might not have access to past practice exams. I'm not actually sure. Yeah, I think you're right, Tammy. Sorry. Yeah, you don't. Never mind. I lied. Okay, maybe it's not that straightforward. But there's plenty here. And there'll be some in the revision questions. Sorry about that. In the revision classes. We get auto tests will not be auto marked because these are separate tests when tutors make you. Okay, you're just talking to someone. Yep. It's the same thing with the assignments. Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right, Windows. Exactly right. How could I lie to you? We all make mistakes. Like not having enough coffee. So for this week's labs, if we attempt the practice questions, we automatically get the marks. Yes, that's exactly right, Bubbly. That's right. Yeah, this week's lab marks are basically free marks. AR, what you're asking is why don't you just get the auto mark results as you go? The reason for that is because it could make people just focus on getting the tests to pass and not focus on writing a logical solution. So it's better to write a good solution that might miss one edge case than it is to just skirt the auto marking. Does that make sense? So just don't worry about it. Focus on getting the auto tests to pass. Focus on thinking about the problem, writing the best solution that you can think of, and the marks will come. Don't worry. Okay. It'll make people panic. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's right, Valerie. Or Valerie. Sorry, I don't know how you say your name. But yeah, you can take the full 6 hours. You can take just 3 hours. You can do whatever you like. Okay, I think I've already said this. When you fetch the exam, it will copy over any starter files. Are we all getting a bit bored of me talking? Um, Read all the questions before you get started. Start with the easier questions. Remember, they're all worth 10 marks, so it only makes sense to complete those first. Okay, this one's really important, so prepare. So if you're reading a programming question, don't just rush in and start writing code. This is the number one thing that please, if you want to do well on this exam, listen to what I'm saying now, right? For the exam, get a book and a pen or a pencil out with you, and think about the question. Think about what it's asking. Think about the data that you have. Diagram it out, draw it out in some way that makes sense to you. One of the best programmers I've ever sort of known or worked with or been taught by used to work on the .NET team at Microsoft. So he worked on the C# language at Microsoft. This was like years ago. And he was a lecturer of mine for data structures, I think. And he always used to say that he almost... writing code was the smallest amount of time he spent when he was a software engineer. Does that make sense? What he did was plan. He would get a book out and he would map out what he was doing, what the problem was. When he understood it, then he wrote the code. Because what can happen is when we start writing code, we get lost in the syntax. And I think we're all familiar with that feeling, right? Where we've written the same thing over and over. It's not making sense. All the syntax starts getting blurry, and we're like, "What are we doing?" Whereas if you plan the problem out first, then write the code, it works a lot nicer. You get 6 hours of semi-Olympiad level questions, exactly. Cool. Yeah, he was a really smart dude, but a bit crazy. Use the problem set revision practice. Debugging and testing is important. You can use debugging tools, for example, and things like that we've covered in the lectures. Less questions answered completely is better than more questions partially answered. That's a weird one, I guess. But yeah, start with the 1 or 2 dot questions. So the question 1 and 2 are 1 dot questions. They're really straightforward, usually. Question 1 is an array hurdle. Question 2 is a linked list hurdle. These test your ability to create simple C programs using variables, scanf, printf, if statements, while loops, simple structs and enums, arrays, and linked lists for question 2, but no insertion or removal of nodes. Okay, so why don't we get started? What am I doing? Okay. So what I've got here is my own practice exam. And now I've lost that. So maybe I'll make this a bit smaller. Okay. So you will have a practice exam like this, and the final exam will be something like this, including the time you need to start and all of that, and the exam mark breakdown, some details on the exam there, and some, the hurdle exam, all the stuff we've been talking about, the exam environment, the starter code, again, all of this stuff we've been talking about. You must answer the code problems in C, of course, don't use other languages. Not that I'm sure anyone would do that. Fit to sit, any technical issues, some common debugging, and then some actual setup information. So if you haven't done the practice exam yet, definitely, I mean, I can't stress enough that you should be doing it, but you can just follow these instructions to get started with the exam. So basically, you can just copy the instructions. So the first thing we're doing is making a folder for the 22 T2 practice exam. Whoops. What is going on? There we go. So make a directory. I've already got it. Let me just delete it. Paste it again. So it'll make a folder. I can CD into that folder. It's just going to be an empty folder at this point. Whoops. And then we can actually fetch the exam. So 1511. Fetch practice exam. And you'll see it'll get started and it says now I have the starter file. So if I look what's in this directory, I can see the practice exam, the short answer questions in the text file and the C files. So that's it. I've now cloned the exam. How do I edit these files? Well, we all know how to do that. We can just use gedit or code or anything it is that we want to use. So I could use gedit, prac short answer.txt. If I open that, I'll get the text file, whoops, that I'm completing. And like we said in the lecture slides, that we just put our answers in the curly braces. This is important so you can test that the file is set up correctly so that your answers are in the curly braces by running 1511 auto test prac exam practice essay. It gives you instructions on how to submit the practice the file using give. If you need to re-clone it, you can delete the file or move it and then run that cloning exam again. Command again, excuse me. And yeah. Any questions on the short answer? Will we be emailed the link to the website in the actual exam, or do we access the questions using Fetch? No, you'll be emailed all the details. Are we able to access these right now? Yes, of course. This is the practice exam. For what does this program print? What was the output? Can't we just copy paste the code into a new gedit, run it? Yeah, but that might be even longer than just figuring it out. But I guess you could do that. Sorry if you entered this already, but do we type the answers in the terminal? No, so you can type it in gedit. You just type it here, save the file, and then submit the file or the question. Yeah, manually copying it would probably waste more time. It also might not be fully compilable code. It might just be a snippet, for example, like a function. So then you would have to write the main function and do all of that. Some ASMR. No, so you don't compile the text file. You just write it in, save it, and submit it. You're not able to compile a text file anyway. Is the practice exam different to what we're doing in this week's labs? There's one difference that I'll talk about in a moment. Oops, to give you guys something extra for the lecture. If it's multiple choice and the answer is A, B, but we write A, C, how is that scored? That's a great question. Do we have anywhere it's multiple? Oh, yeah, sum of. I'm not sure. You might get half a mark or you might get 0 marks. It depends on the marking criteria. Yeah, it might be half a mark. And they're the 20 practice exam questions. Where do I answer the short answer ones? I can't find it. In the actual file. In this file, you put your answer in the curly braces. You already have access to this practice exam. So how about everyone right now? Well, you'll do it in your lab, but you have access to this practice exam already. Ideally, how long should the short answer section take us? Yeah, 20 minutes. It's 20%. Yeah, something like that. The other way you can figure that stuff out is by saying, well, if it's a 3-hour exam and it's 20 marks, so it should be 20% of the 3 hours. Yeah, you can use VS Code to the exam, but remember, it'll need to be in Tiger VNC. So you could absolutely use VS Code. Oop. What did I just do then? Yep, there you go. As long as you can save the changes and submit it, you're fine. Okay, so let's say you add some questions there. How do I auto test it? I don't think there's auto test for... yeah, there's no auto test for... the short answer. But how do you submit it? So you just run give I've just forgotten the so in the terminal you would just run why is it not pasting? Anyway, I think it's give cs1511 prac underscore short answer and then the actual file with your answers. Is this too hard to read because it's... Oops. Oh well, you probably get the idea. That's what I wanted. Whew. All right, so the command's in the file, but give cs1511 practice short answer and then the file that you have your answers in. You run that. I put 3 ones, but you run that and it submits the file. You type yes and it goes in. Okay, it's telling me I'm going to be late, but we can ignore that. Yes, you can give multiple times. You can use SSHFS, you can. Maybe we can talk about exam anxiety and stuff like that after the break. Okay. So that's the short answer stuff. Then we have an arrays of structs and enums question for example 1. Now, as a little bonus, I have a different practice Q1 file for the lecture today. So that's different from the one that's in your practice exam. But let's take a 5 to 10 minute break. Get a coffee, stretch. I need to stretch. Ooh. We'll come back, maybe do a Kahoot. I'll show you question 1 and show you how to submit and run auto tests on the code files. And then that'll be getting towards the end of the lecture. Cool? I'll see you in about 10 minutes. Coffee and Kahoot. Sounds good? Sounds good. Okay. I probably need to pause that. Alright, these ones are hard. These are the extensions of the ones that we did last week. Straight 6. Keeping up the tradition. I need to put shoes on. It's so cold. Ugh. Where's this place that you're talking about? I want to go. I want a milk brulee tea. Brulee milk. Like a creme brulee? Identity theft? Noah. Yeah, but where is it? Where is this place, Bubbleen? What's the name of it? Oh, it's on campus. Yeah, then I'll definitely go. It's interesting to me that there's like 80 people watching the lecture, but only 35 play the Kahoot. What do the rest of you do? You're not keen? They're nervous, yeah. Are we good to go? We all ready? Watch. All right, about to start. 39. Can we get to 40? Yeah, come on. I'm watching on 40 other YouTube accounts. Well, then you can play 40 Kahoot games, Joshua. Step up. Okay, find the output of this program. You gotta be quick here. I'm warning you now. I don't even know what this is gonna be. Yep, I don't know. That was weird. I'll fully admit. I don't know. Why would that be 1? 4. Val is 1. Val plus plus will be 2. Plus plus val should still be 3. Plus plus will be 4. Oh, yeah, okay. So it's going up by... Well, 4... Yeah, so it'll be 4, 8, 16, 24. But then wouldn't val be... Yep, let's not worry about it. One person, congratulations. Yeah, okay, we haven't done... Oh, yeah, we haven't done wild post-test loops. Anyway, all right, let's try this one. These questions are nuts. Find the output of this program. Well, it's got a minute. Type def struct. Yeah, these questions are a bit gross. 2 integers. Okay, that's easy. And a thing called an EMP. I don't know what that is. EMP E equals that. Okay, this one's easy. This one's easy. Oh yeah, ignore the type def. Yep. Yeah, I know. Yep. But that's okay. You can ignore the type def. All the type def does is so you don't have to type struct EMP. It just makes it replaces the type. There's no trick there. Yeah, well done. That one was surprisingly a lot easier. Okay, which of the following is not an example of a user-defined data type? I think we've done this one last week. That was really quick. Oh, what did you put? Type def. Yeah, so yeah, I don't disagree with you, but yeah, a function is not a data type for sure. Yeah, that one was really quick. I'm really all over the place with this one. Find the output of the program. This is a good one. Okay. Would that really give up an error? I mean, you can't get the size of an array, but wouldn't that be the size of a pointer? Or will this not decay to a pointer because it's an actual array in this check? In this case. Noah? Tammy? This could error. This could. What do you mean? It's just the parentheses. Oh my god, yeah, it is 2. Yeah, who said that? Yeah, good job, Daniel. Yeah, there's no closing parentheses around the printf. Yeah, this Kahoot's nuts. Who made this? Oh, Cyril. Okay, good job, Cyril. This is a wild ride. I promise for tomorrow's I'll make the Kahoot myself. All right, find the output of this program. We have a struct called sample. It's got an intercart float. All right, this one again, that's okay. I think. I don't trust this. S.A. Yeah, that's okay. So should we... What? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this one? S is the... Oh, it's not initialized. Yeah, you can't put values in the struct. No, you can't initialize values in the struct. Yeah. God, yeah. I did the... I don't know. I would have put orange. Congratulations to the people that got it. I mean, it's correct. The exam's not like this, Nickel. Don't worry. Int main, int var equals 100. Okay, I think I know what this one would be. I think it's... Oh, what? Ah. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. So, the reason for this is that this integer called var replaced this integer because it had its own scope. So, yeah, this is a bit esoteric. Because within this block, there is only one var integer. So it's not actually replacing it. It's a different block with a different sort of scope of memory. Yeah, anyway, most of you got it actually though, which is surprising. Yeah, it makes sense, but it's disgusting. I agree. No, you can definitely have curly braces without you can make your own scope at any time. What is the size structure of the variable of the following structure? Even that question is. Okay, how are they going to get us here? Okay, they're not getting us. It's just the size. So what's the size of person? And these are in bytes, it looks like. Okay, well done to 19 of you. I think if we look at it, it's 50 bytes for the character, 4 bytes for the integer. And then 2 bytes for a float. 4 bytes. So wouldn't that be 4? And what's the size of an int? 4 bytes, yeah. So that's 8 bytes. So isn't it 58? I would have thought it was 58. And there's no units. Yeah, I agree. This is bad Kahoot. I apologize, everyone. I'm a 58 believer too. Which of the following is not a bitwise operator? We haven't done bitwise operators. I don't want to destroy you all. Okay, this one's fine. Specify the 2 library functions that dynamically allocate memory. Units of 58 over 56 bytes. That's actually hilarious. Yeah, it was just the largest one. Okay, we haven't done calloc either. I thought it was going to be realloc, but what's the difference? Malloc function creates a single block of memory for a specific size. Calloc function assigns multiple blocks of memory for a single variable. Cool. You did research in calloc returns a pointer. This Kahoot certainly is all over the place. Should we just finish all 13 and then be done with this fake Kahoot? Find the output of the program. All right, come on. We can do this one. X is 22. If X is equal to 10. Ha 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 ha. You naughty, naughty Kahoot author. Yeah, Tammy spotted it. No one else spotted it. Why isn't it error? They forgot double equals. This is actually something that people actually do a lot. This is not a bad one. This is a good question. They're not checking if X is equal to 10. They're checking if X was assigned 10. So X being assigned 10 is going to return true because the statement completed. Therefore, it will print true. There's only one equal sign there. So it actually assigned 10 to X. And you don't need curly braces for an if statement. I don't think we've ever shown you that syntax style because it's not good. But if you don't have curly braces, the next statement is the statement that executes if the if statement is true. Yeah, but don't do this. Writing code like this, actually, has anyone heard of the heartbleed bug? The vulnerability? Has anyone heard of that? Damn it. Anyone heard of Heartbleed? It was a big SSL vulnerability. Maybe, I think I was in undergrad, so it was a few years ago. And the bug came about from something like this. So there was an if statement that didn't use a curly brace. So something like this, which is valid. How it works is if you have another statement after line 6, it will always be executed. Well, actually this is a bad example. There was no else statement. So it was like if, X is equal to true. Now, usually what we teach you to do is this, but you can do you know, do something, right? This works, or you could do something like this. So both of these work. With the heartbleed bug, this was some C code that was written like a decade ago, and they needed to add something. So do something, and then they needed to like do finalize, something like that. If they had curly braces, this would have been fine. What they did was they came here, they're like, okay, is x equal to true? Yep, okay, we do that, and then we need to do that. And this doesn't do the same thing as this. So in this example, if this statement is true, this will run, and then this will always run, regardless of if this if statement was true or false. Does that make sense? So if this was false, this wouldn't run, but this will run. And that's what caused the bug that caused Heartbleed. I think it was more complicated than that, but that was basically what happened. It was pretty interesting. I mean, it was a huge vulnerability. Look, it has its own website. Why is it nested? Shouldn't it just be outside the if statement? Yeah, it's not good code, Bubbling. It's not how we should be writing C code. Why was it? I don't know. It said it here. Why is it called Heartbleed? The bug in OpenSSL's implementation of TLS. Okay, the thing was called the heartbeat extension, which is a pretty cool thing to call some code. When it was exploited, it leads to a leak of memory containing content from the server to the client, from the client to the server. So it was called Heartbleed because it was part of the heartbeat extension to TLS. Yeah, it's just cringe. You just shouldn't do it. All right, last couple questions. We'll just finish the 13, might as well. It's the second last lecture. Find the output of the program. All right, what are they going to do this time? Okay. I think I've got it. I don't know why it's got 60 seconds. If I get it wrong, I'm going to be sad. I'll wait till we get to like... How do I just click skip? Yeah, okay, I thought it was 3. Whew. Any questions on why it's 3? We set the third element of the array to be the null terminator. Therefore, there's a character. You can't see my camera. Therefore, there's a camera. What? Therefore, there's a character at position 0, 1, and 2. So that the length is 3. Yeah, string length never counts the null terminator because it's not a character in the string. God, this leaderboard is all over the place. All right, 2 more questions. Any C program must contain at least one function, need not contain any function, none of the above, needs input data. Brutal. Brutal again. Yeah, it needs a main function. Otherwise, it won't compile. Main is a function. Finally got one right. Good job, Nicole. And good job throwing them off. You're on the board. All right, last question. Skull is the fastest climber. Main is a function, of course. It returns an integer. Find the output of the program. Oh, God. We're going to have the bang. 90 seconds. What is going on? my function returns a character pointer and it accepts the character pointer. Pointer is plus equal to 3. Let me turn it. Car x, car y. X. Exam theta. Y equals. Okay, I think I know what it is. What is it? You guys are funny. All right. I'll just let the time run out. Yeah, it's blue. Yeah, this is pointer arithmetic. So what happens is, I mean, congratulations, 24 of you. That's amazing. What happens is, X is a pointer to a string, so is Y. X is assigned the string exam veta. I don't know what that means. Y is assigned the result of calling my function on X. So the address of exam veta gets passed to my function, and the pointer gets incremented 3 times. So if you think about an array being a pointer, when you add to a pointer, when you add one to a pointer, it adds the size of the type, so a character, to the address. So a character is 1 byte. So we move 1 byte over. So if we're adding 3, we move 1 to 3, and now the address points to MVEDA, which is what gets printed out when we call printf. And that's what gets output. Great job, 24 of you figured that out. Yeah, pretty much, Daniel. And congratulations to, what name is that? 5186, whoever you are. And 5001, whoever you are. And, oh no, what am I doing? The names are at the top. Elite Bogan, congratulations, Shockface, and CS Pokédex. You got 7 out of 12. You scraped through. We'd need to scale this exam or something. Yep. Congratulations, 7 out of 12. Well done. That was tricky. That wasn't good, but whatever. We can... I promise for tomorrow's lecture, I will write the Kahoot, and they'll be a lot better. But you still did very well. There's some fun stuff there. Yeah, only 3 people passed. Exactly. Okay. All right, so I mentioned that there would be a bonus question that is not in the practice exam. If I was really mean, I would turn off the lecture recording right now so that only you guys would see it all, but that's not really nice, so of course we'll keep it on. So how do we get started with... Where's my other screen? Here we go. How do we get started with a code writing exam and practice exam question? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Don't push it. Okay, so just the same as the short answer, we can just open practice exam Q1 in our text editor of our choice. You guys are evil. You want your fellow students to not do as well as you. You won't say anything. Yeah, but they'll say something. That's the problem. No, some people can't make the exam for the lecture for legitimate reasons. So only for that reason, I won't do it. So prac Q1, whoops, I can't type, .c. If we want to open it in gedit, I'm happy to do that. And we get this file open. If we look at the file, this is pretty typical with, this is not right. What's going on? This is the normal one. That's annoying. Give me a second. It's okay, Tom. I'll just get it open locally. That's okay. That's okay. I made this a big deal about having a different question, and then I didn't have it. What am I looking at? Yeah, Tom, you missed the insane Kahoot as well. What is going on? Where is everything? Oh, is it? I see. I know what I've done. What? Okay, so we're going to pretend that when I opened that file, this is what we saw. Disable that. Don't worry about that. Okay. I can fetch it too as well. All right, let's try. So I think I can remove part 1, right? And then I can fetch it. Is that right? And then I can go gedit. Thank you, Tom, if this works. No, that doesn't look right either. Okay, let's not worry about it. That's okay. Yeah, don't worry about it, Tom. It's all right. Don't worry. Pretend this is what got cloned. Don't stress. Yeah, okay, so this is a lot closer to the question 1 in the final exam that you'll be sitting this term. So don't stress, Tom, it's completely fine. So let's have a little breakdown of how we approach the code writing questions. It was working yesterday, Tom, so I don't know either. So this is some starter code that you'll get given, for example. So you can see here there's a function called type of oldest plant. It returns something, and it says to do, implement this function. So this is where you need to write code for this file. We have this main function that you don't have to touch. This is a sample main function. It will not be marked. Only the type of oldest plant function will be marked. And the instructions in the actual website will even make this more clear that you don't need to touch main. You only need to write code in the type of oldest plant. Now, this program uses a struct and an enum. Those are all supplied for you. There'll be a comment here that you don't need to touch these. Right? They're just given for you. So I think, let me just check. There should be a file here. It's a bit hard to read, but basically in this task, you'll determine the type of the oldest plant in the array. So you're given an array of plants file, which contains a function, type of oldest plant. There's the enum, there's the struct. Can you have a trailing comma? Maybe you can't. Either way, yeah. This is just a practice question. So, given a function with this information, write code to the function that returns the type of the oldest plant. Does it make sense? So, we're given an array of plants. So, for example, this is an outdoor plant. It's a peace lily. That's its name, which is a really nice plant, and it's a 3-year-old plant. Then we've got an indoor cactus, which is 5 years old, and a flower, a rose, which is 1 year old. So given this data, return the type of the oldest plant. And so your job for this question would be to write the code that does what? Returns the type of the oldest plant. Now, we've given you the return type here. So you should be returning the enum of the type of the plant that you've come across that has the youngest age. Does the question, the structure, the format all make sense to everyone? You know, let's forget about the solution for now, but does the idea of what you need to do make sense? Looks easy, yes. Yeah, that's right. You just finish up the function. That's right. What if more than one plant has the same age? That's a good question. Usually in the actual exam question, there'll be some sort of comment on what to happen, what you should do in certain edge cases. So we might, for example, just say that no plants will have the same age, or you just return the first plant with the same age, or we'll tell you basically. Yeah, basically it's an array traversal, get the lowest one, or it could just be any type of the youngest plant, for example. We might just not care and any of them will pass. Those are good questions though. It's common to come up against questions where you'll have these sort of assumptions that need to be made. In these cases, we'll let you know. If you're really not sure, you can just email the CS1511 exam account or something like that and ask for clarification. Oh, my camera's off. Yep. Good. Thank you. Cool. So your function returned the enum value. For example, in this example, Lily is 1 year old. The ivy is 3 years old. So what should we return? Remember, it's the type of the youngest plant. Windows. Why is everyone saying outdoor? Why is everyone saying outdoor? Itra. Is it oldest plant? Oldest plant, sorry. Yeah. It used to be youngest when I first wrote it. Oh, goodness. Yep. I'm just making sure. Yes. I'm just testing you. That's right. So it should return just outdoor. So outdoor is the type of the oldest plant in the array. No, it used to be youngest when I wrote the question, Bonrick. Oh god, this lecture. It's the cahoots has wrecked us. The exam is not youngest then. All right. What do we want to do? Do we want to write up the answer together? Yeah, I'm getting roasted. I mean, I'm roasting myself, really. So what you would do, what do we do? We delete the to-do statement, right? Because we're going to actually do it. and we write the code that solves the function. So you guys tell me, how are we going to solve this problem? What's the first thing we want to do? I don't believe anything. That's good. Skepticism is good. We make a plan. Good job, Nicole. So one way that you could write on a piece of paper or something like that, we could just write some comments. So Bonrick says, make a loop. So I could say loop through the plants array for size times, right? Something like that. What are other people saying? Make a counter. I like that. We're going to do that before we loop, right? So see how it's, when I'm just writing notes, it's a lot easier to sort of move around. So yeah, loop through the array. That's good. We don't need to whiteboard. I think we can just sort of list it out like this. Maybe for more complex stuff, you could whiteboard it. Loop through the plant array and update the oldest age. Well, what is the oldest age? Nikhil. Compare ages to what? Okay, Bonrick, perfect. Make, an int variable to store the current oldest age. Have a variable for oldest age and oldest type. Highest value of age, blah, blah, blah. You're a whiteboard enthusiast. That's awesome. I am too. Make a value holding the oldest age. Okay, we've done that. Loop through the plant array for size times. And I guess then the next step is to compare the oldest age to the current age. So Elven Seed says define the oldest age as 0. That's interesting. Is there another way we could do that? I mean, what if... Okay, Cyril, I love it. Set the oldest age to the first age. So we'll set the int variable to store the first plant age. This is the oldest plant variable to store the age. We don't, it's usually not good to just initialize some sort of storage variable to 0. In this case, it would probably work, but for example, if it was the youngest age, 0 could be the youngest, and then you would get the incorrect result. Just start at the head. Yeah, exactly. Also need to handle the edge case of an empty array. Maybe. Talking about heads, but it's just arrays. I think it works. Okay, so let's write the code and see what we do. So make a counter. All right, int I equals 0. Make an oldest plant int variable to store the plant's age. So int oldest plant age, and it's going to be equal to the first plant's age. Oh, of course, dot age. Okay, so we've done that. Loop through the array, plant size for plant's time. So while I is less than size, what do we want to do? Plants of I, so we're looping through there. Compare the oldest age to the current age. So compare the current age. So we say if the current plant's age, what are we trying to get? The oldest one is older than our oldest plant age. Now we're sort of missing something. What are we missing here? The exam doesn't look for style, Bronrick. You can make a boomer joke. But remember, we don't want to return the age. What do we want to return? Yeah, exactly, Will. Will's got it. Good job, Will. We can't just store an integer here, right? We need to store well, you're saying an enum, actually. There's something else we need to store. How else could we do this? Even if we stored an enum, I'm not sure. We'd have to have two things. Yeah, we could. I guess we could also just store the enum, but there's another way we could just do it. Yeah, we could store the struct. Exactly, hippie hair. That's right. We could just store the struct. So the oldest plant is just going to be equal to the first plant. And we can just do that. That's right. And if the current age is older than the oldest plant's age, we can just say that the oldest plant is equal to plants of I. That way we only need one variable. Otherwise, that way we don't need two variables. You feel dumb. That's okay. This is why we have practice exams. All right. Then what do we do? We're almost done. No, you're not going to get marked on efficiency. Oh, yes. Good job. We need to increment. That's right. We need to add one to I, so we actually loop. Then what do we do? What are we finally missing now? Well, yeah, exactly right, Will. We return the oldest plant type. Exactly. Good job. That's pretty much looking good to me. Now, we can check this against my sample solution. Okay. So, first of all, you would have passed. If you wrote this, you passed. This is correct. Or this is what I wrote at least. It doesn't take into account that you could be given an empty array, but we didn't talk about it, so that's okay. And if there's multiple plants at the same age that are the oldest, this will just return the first one. That's probably okay too. There's one thing I did different, and it's not really, again, they both will pass, but what's the difference? And why does it work? Yeah, Matthew's spotted it, but do you want to explain, Matthew, what it is and why it works? Or anyone? Nicole? Yeah, so instead of starting I as 0, I started I as 1. So why did I do that? Yeah, exactly right, everyone. That's right. We're already storing the first plant in the oldest struct. So if we started I at 0, we would be comparing it to itself. It would be false, so it wouldn't do anything. It would still work. But in this solution, we loop one less time. But like, for example, in the exam, these would get the exact same marks, right? Because there's no way to test that really. Yeah, that's exciting. We're comparing the first plant to itself. So we can just move past the first one. This is a common sort of thing that you can do that saves one iteration. Cool. If they had the first age, you would just be returning the first plant in the array, which is still the oldest plant. We didn't fail. No, we did it. We got there. But see how we wrote the wrong thing initially. We thought about it. We fixed it. We didn't panic. We approached it systematically. Some of you had other solutions, which was store the enum separately. This is probably slightly nicer, although actually probably maybe maybe ever so slightly more efficient to do it your way. But so, for example, all the stuff with negative ages, empty arrays, those assumptions will be given to you when you sit the exam. Yeah, so it's about reading the spec, understanding the problem, the seed before it's conceived. Yeah, exactly. Negative plant ages. Cool. All right. So you write your question. Oops. Oh my God. What's going on? So you write your question. Let's pretend I wrote it in gedit on VLab. You're like, okay, I want to test my question now. So I can run this statement here. So 1511 auto test prac exam prac q1, because that's the question we worked on, .c. Or actually, I don't think I need to give it a .c. And it starts running the auto tests, right? This is not the submission. Now remember, this is the old one that we didn't change. So it's going to give us some fails. And it'll tell you where it failed, what test, and all of that. So this failed 5 tests. Let's assume that our test will pass because we know what we're doing. We want to submit the question. We can just say give 1511. Where was that? Whoops, I keep doing that. CS1511. Prac q1.c. Sorry, hold on. So it'll be prac q1 and then the actual file we want to submit. I would say, yes, this is what I want to do. And it goes in. And that's it. That's it. You've submitted the question. You do that 10 more times or 8 more times and you finish the exam. Done. Cool. So awesome. So let's quickly go back to our slides. That's an example of something really similar that you're going to get in question 1. Question 2 is a really simple linked list question. Question 3 and 4 go to the 2 dot difficulty. And again, it's an array question and a linked list question. And then 5 and 6 are 3 dot, 7 and 8 are deadly dots. These are really, if you're just aiming for a HD, do not stress if you can't do question 7 and 8. Like I said, lecturers and tutors have problems with, especially question 8. These are more extension challenges. Only worth 10 to 20% of the course. So what should I study? Basically, everything in the lectures or the tut labs, but none of the extension stuff like another language. You should all be pretty clear on that. You can ask on the forum, you can ask in the help sessions, you can ask in the revision classes. Most of the marking is automated, so make sure you submit the correct stuff. Try not to stress, take it easy. We'll talk more about the exam tomorrow, but I promise if you've been engaged, if you've been doing stuff, if you've been attending your tut labs, if you've been doing okay in the labs and the assignments, you've got this, I promise. This is not an exam designed to fail hundreds of students. It's really an exam just to make sure that you can demonstrate competency with the core stuff in COMP1511. Make sure you take breaks. You've got a lot more time than you need for this exam. So take breaks, walk around a little bit, have a lot of water. I like to make a pot of green tea for something like this. You do not need to work for the entire 6 hours. You can do as much as you need to do. And then once you've finished, take a breath and celebrate completing the exam. So we're so close. We have one more lecture tomorrow. Then we've got revision classes and things like that. And then, and then you're done with 1511, which is incredibly sad, but we'll be sad tomorrow. I'm going to go get Hungry Jacks during the exam. Look, you do you, but healthy food, a good night's sleep the night before is probably better than Hungry Jacks. But if that's your comfort food for during the exam, you do that. But for the couple of days leading up, make sure you're getting good sleep. And when you're at this point in the course or next week or before you take the exam, it's in some ways it's too late, right? You've done the hard work. You'll reap the benefits. Try not to stress. It's not going to help. But I know everyone will be stressed. So yeah, take drinks, drink breaks, snack breaks, walk around, draw diagrams, pen and paper, go over the problem sets, revision questions, do your My Experience survey, and you'll be completely fine. I promise. Yeah, see us 50 hours. Yeah, make sure you get good sleep. That's the best thing you can do. All right. Thank you all for today's lecture. I hope we had a bit of fun and we went over the structure of the exam. We went through how we submit the exam. Tomorrow, we have a really exciting lecture where we're going to do all the stuff. We're going to sort of cover all the stuff that's been cut from 1511 over the past few years. So tomorrow will be really fun. It's our Titanic lecture. Next week is week 11. They're just revision classes. No tut labs. Yeah. I'm so excited for you all. You're going to be great. Good luck with any other exams you've got, any other courses. I'll see you tomorrow for our final lecture.